New sets in TFT are kind of like your first day at a new school. Most of the framework is the same. There are still the cool kids, there are still the nerdy kids, and there's even still the kid who yells penis on the bus to try to make the bus driver look back. You still need to do math and homework and write papers that seem a little pointless. It's all the same. Kind of. Maybe your math teacher is a little meaner, the band kid's a little cooler, or the kid on the bus is named Tim instead of Joe. These little differences add up and require some time to learn and navigate. But understanding that getting on your math teacher's good side is more important than knowing Tim, previously Joe's, name can make the process smoother and faster. What I'm trying to say is that this is also true for new TFT sets. Gold is still gold, items are still items, and augments are still augments. What they look like and how they can be used won't necessarily be the same. Understanding how to best use your time during the release of a new set will not only make the game more fun and less frustrating, but it will also make you really popular and cool and handsome and maybe even make you rich. Who knows? Excelling in a new set is almost entirely dependent on how well you've built up your base. What is your base exactly? I like to define it as an accumulation of experiences that come together to form an understanding of the pieces within the set, those pieces being things like units, synergies, augments, items, and set mechanics, and how they want to be utilized. Essentially, your intuition. A player with a stronger base will be able to answer the questions a new situation poses with more certainty. They'll have more reasons to do the things they do. And the funny thing about a new set, and what can make it so hard, is that there will be a lot of new situations. Generally speaking, I find that there are two aspects of a set that are most critical to building a strong base, and which focusing on will save you some time and headache. Those two aspects are the trait web and individual unit power, particularly in regards to the early mid game. The easiest way to have a good game of TFT is to high roll early. Generally speaking, good things happening earlier in a game will be a lot better than good things happening later in a game. It's kind of like how professional tennis players pretty much all start as a 5-year-old whose parents are living vicariously through them. The earlier you catch on to a high roll, the easier it is to convert it into a win. One of the easiest high rolls to find early is a good unit. This can be a 3 cost that fits with some of the other stuff you have, a couple 2-starred 1 costs, or even a 2 cost that's way too good for how much gold it costs. Looking at you, set 12 Syndra. That is all to say that spending time getting to know which 1, 2, and 3 costs are strong, or even just a bit overtuned, will put you miles ahead of players who are only focused on the 4 cost comps they've been theory crafting all week at work. Not to throw any shade at them, cause fuck yeah, rock on, brother. Sometimes a unit's quality can be good mostly because of its spell, like this 2 cost Zyra from set 6 that would literally stun your entire backline for like no mana, or this 2 cost Teemo from set 4 that would blind your carry for the fight and make it literally unplayable. Other times, there are item interactions that break early units, like Blighting Jewel on set 13 and 14 1 cost Morgana, or Shadow Blue Buff 2 cost LeBlanc from set 5, or Shadow Jeweled Gauntlet 1 cost Vayne, also from set 5, which could literally win games at 1 star. Yay, set 5. A unit's quality is not just impacted by their own strength, however, but also what they let you play around them. A unit's position in the trait web is a big indicator of unit quality. When I say trait web, I don't just mean understanding what each trait does. Although definitely read the traits and make sure that you are familiar with what they do. Most TFT players don't read, so you'll already have a pretty sizable advantage, I'd say. I more so mean understanding where the overlaps in traits are, and how to connect any trait to another. Units at the center of multiple valuable traits have a lot of inherent strength regardless of what their ability actually does. Same with units that have very easily activatable traits that can connect to a bunch of different things incredibly easily. Let's take a look at a unit from set 15 that falls into both of these categories. Aatrox is a 1 cost that looks pretty unimpressive and is probably not worth rerolling based on his ability. All he does is heal a little bit and do some damage. When you look at his traits, however, it becomes pretty apparent that he's one of the best 1 costs in the set. When you buy an Aatrox on stage 1 or early stage 2, you're opening yourself up to some incredibly easy high rolls. First off, you can easily activate either or even both of his tank synergies with very little effort thanks to Zac and Neferi also existing in the 1 cost pool. Further, you have a ton of 2 costs to hit that are useful, as there are 2 2-cost Juggernauts as well as a 2-cost Heavyweight in this set. Because all of these connections are just 2-piece traits, it also becomes super easy to fit synergistic backline, as you have the potential to connect to Wraith through Zac, Soul Fighter through Neferi, Luchador through Dr. Mundo, Crystal Gambit through Vi, and some 4 mentor stuff through Kobuko. Not that you're going to be hitting a rise early, you dirty high roller. The craziest thing is that Aatrox actually has a third synergy as well in Mighty Mech, which connects him to one of the strongest units in the game currently, Gangplank, as well as a host of other early units. By analyzing the trait web in a set, you can make much more informed decisions on stage 1 and 2 that will make your game significantly easier, especially compared to players that haven't put the thought in. This is where I show you this drawing of Aatrox I did, and ask that you subscribe if you're enjoying the video. It really helps me out and makes it easier to spend time on more videos like this one. Also, if you have any interest in TFT coaching, there's a link to my Menify page in the description below. Alright, back to the video. Thanks. Okay, so, now that we've established that understanding the trait web and the individual power of a unit, particularly early game units, should be your #1 priority, how do we go about working on those two things? And also, what about everything else that goes into understanding a set? First off, let's address how to work on what we've talked about. Understanding the trait web is probably the easiest skill to work on, and really doesn't even require you to be in a game of TFT. Start with units that have 3 synergies, as these will have a lot of inherent power, and begin looking for which synergies show up a lot in early units. A synergy like Sniper that shows up on 2 1 costs in set 15 will make holding snipers a bit more valuable in a vacuum than other backlines like Executioner or Duelist that require higher cost units as well. As far as understanding how strong spells are, and if there are any broken item interactions, this is where your playtime comes in. More than anything else during a PvE cycle, you should be testing out as many 1, 2, and 3 costs as possible and trying to see what makes them tick. Get dropped a Darius from an orb? Play around it instead of the 2-starred sorcerers on your bench, and see if he feels good or bad in the early parts of the game, with and without items. If you're on PvE, then there's no LP on the line, and if you're on live, then losing the LP now will inevitably result in more LP gain later. As for 4 costs and metacomps, don't worry, we're going to have everyone else do that work for us. 4 costs are the most popular part of any TFT set, and, generally, are at the core of most meta compositions. This focus on 4 costs means that the first thing everyone will rush to figure out, and then proceed to talk about online in videos, on streams, and on social media, is the power level of these 4 costs, and the comps, items, etc. that make them shine. While there generally won't be a lot of discourse around whether or not a 1-star 2 or 3 cost is busted, so we find that out for ourselves with our own playtime, there is guaranteed to be more info than you could ever want on each and every 4 and 5 cost out there, and often on most good reroll comps too. All it takes is a quick YouTube search for Big D set 15, and you can find out in a 15-minute video what Darius Lover 420 found out over the course of their entire early set experience. We're not trying to reinvent the wheel here. We're trying to let others make the wheel while we build the rest of the car. That's not to say that you shouldn't play all of these things on your own and get experience with them, but more so that when you're at the starting line of the set, they shouldn't be your focus. As weird as it sounds, watching TFT at the start of a set is often much more impactful than playing is for your improvement. Another online resource that can be really helpful, especially when it comes to augments, is the PvE patch notes. Over the course of a PvE cycle, there will be numerous patches, generally daily, that shift things here and there to get things closer to a balanced state for the live release of the set. These notes are color-coded with what is getting buffed and what's getting nerfed, as well as by how much. If you see that an augment is getting a slight buff or a slight nerf, then that's a good indicator that the augment is pretty close to balanced and isn't going to randomly boom your game by being totally unplayably bad. If you see an augment get a large nerf, it's an indicator that the design of the augment might just be a little too strong and could still be really good, even after the nerf. Or maybe even really bad, who knows. Basically, it's an indicator that it's something you should be clicking and testing in your own games. Similarly, if an augment gets a large buff, it's an indicator that you should be keeping your eye on it and testing it when possible. A lot of players don't keep up to date on PvE patch notes, or particularly care about them, and that's totally fine, but for the sweatier players watching this can be a really powerful tool for making sure that your time is being used as wisely as possible. At the end of the day, I really do believe that anyone can be a great TFT player, and the only thing you need to do to make it happen is to make sure that you're working smarter, not harder. Take advantage of all the groundwork other players have laid out for you, and make sure that the time you spend with the game is being used to work on things that will build your base, and complement the skills and information you already have. Or just force Darius every game because he's cool and he dunks and he has the basketball skin, but he doesn't have it in this set, but he had another set when he had the same ability. But this set, or no, he didn't have that set. He had He had another one. He had the ox skin, but this one, but he did the donkey move like he's a basketball player. But this one, he has, I don't know what skin he has actually, but it's cool looking. And TFT is a game, so it should be fun. Anyways, stop yelling penis on the bus, Tim. Bye bye. Most of the framework is the same. There are still the cool kids, there are still the nerdy kids, and there's even still the kid who yells penis on the bus to try to make the bus driver look back. You still need to do math and homework and write papers that seem a little pointless. It's all the same. Kind of. Most of the framework is the same. There are still the cool kids, there are still the nerdy kids, and there's even still the kid who yells penis on the bus to try to make the bus driver look back. You still need to do math and homework and write papers that seem a little pointless. It's all the same. Kind of.